Hello, we're going to recap Grimm Season 4, Episode 13, called Trial by Fire. We got a great Vesson this week. He's a phoenix, or at least he's the origin of the phoenix. He's called an Escandesco, according to Nick's Grimm diaries. And in the beginning of this episode, he burns down a lovely store called Harrison & Sons, and unfortunately, the son in Harrison is not as enthusiastic about the business as his father is, who has been handed to it over 2 generations. And so we got a lot of internal things happening with the bankruptcy being filed and then the insurance money getting kicked up. So it was actually a combination of all these things. So the lawyer who filed the bankruptcy, his name is Leahy, he contacted the Escandesco and he referred him to the son who he knew would want to burn down the store because he didn't want to work there for the rest of his life. It's a lot of themes about the old world coming into the new world. So this is the first one, is the son not wanting to be forced to do what his father did. He wants to make a change. So the old order is kind of being pushed into this reality, and he wants to fight back. So we'll see this throughout the episode, but here's the first thing. And unfortunately, his plan goes awry because 2 people got murdered, which means the homicide department of the Portland Police Department are going to be investigating, which means Nick, Hank, and Wu are all over this. And unfortunately, their investigation leads them to a certain arson investigator who has been tracking these kind of fires because this fire was not an ordinary fire. It didn't follow the ventilation system or where the oxygen was. It had a mind of its own. I mean, this went through the entire store up and down the aisle. So they are led to arson investigator Orson. Now, if you don't remember Mr. Orson, we have seen him in Season 1. And drama, Nick arrested him for murder. So, this lovely man was the brother of 2 Bauerschwein, he himself is a Bauerschwein, who were the victim of Angelina Lasser, who, if we remember, is the ex-girlfriend of Monroe. Yeah, this is a tangled web that we weave. In order to get revenge on Angelina, Detective Orson killed both of her brothers, including Monroe's friend Hap, on his doorstep, no less. And then, he threatened Monroe, and Monroe hated him. He didn't want to join Angelina in killing this guy, but he also, didn't want him to get away with it because he killed his best friend, and he almost killed Angelina. Of course he's mad about it, but we'll get to Monroe. But when Nick was an early Grimm, and it was one of his first cases, he didn't really know about the Bauerschwein-Blutbad feud. He was just like, you killed somebody, you're going to jail. And he couldn't find Angelina. So Orson is still kind of ticked off about that, but they're going to use him for the investigation anyway, which is good because, he needs to fulfill this because he's working on this case for a long time. What they found out is the Escandesco is basically the Phoenix, and from Nick's Grimm diaries we know that a Grimm found him in the old city of Rome in the Nero era, and the Escandesco wanted to destroy Christians in the city, and he basically burned down Rome. So again, we have a throwback to the old order, kind of that motif through the episode. And the fire raged through the city, and we don't know how to stop him. And so, luckily, the arson investigator has an idea. He explained that the human body produces phosphorus, about 1%, and usually when the phosphorus is exposed to oxygen is when it lights up. Now, this guy is obviously producing more than 1%, and that's how he is a human match. So what they have to do is find a way to block the oxygen so he won't light himself up, basically a huge amount of sunscreen. So they decide to go to the spice shop to get what they need in order to make this thing to stop him. Unfortunately, this is where they run into Monroe, because again, the old order of the Bauerschwein-Blutbad feud is coming to play here, because Monroe does have justification for being so hugely furious with this guy, and Orson is absolutely furious at his girlfriend, or ex-girlfriend, Angelina, because she killed his brothers. So they start yelling at each other, and then Rosalie says Angelina's dead, and he's like, well, that's the best news I've heard, and that's when Monroe really gets, insanely pissed. Like, oh no, you are not talking about Angelina. She risked her life for mine. I am alive because of her. And so he absolutely refuses to let this guy have their help. And Nick is the Grimm in the middle because, this is a police investigation. He needs him despite what he's done in the past. And Nick is a Grimm, like, yo, Blutbad and Bauerschwein, stop fighting. So Rosalie confronts Monroe and she says, didn't I lose you to this old school thinking? How can you be caught up in this? This isn't about you. It's not about Orson. It's not about this feud that's been going on forever. It's about these 2 kids that died in a fire, and we need to help Nick catch this guy. And Monroe at first is like, no way, I'm not helping this guy. But then he comes back and, rethinks his position because he is a new world kind of thinker, and he is a very progressive person, especially in light of the tribunal and the Vesson reign that just happened a few episodes ago. Orso, who is the Escondesco, he finds out that there is a homicide and he needs to cover his tracks. So he kills the lawyer and he wants to now go kill the Harrisons. And Rosalie finished making the thing, and by now the cops and the arson investigator know where the guy is going. He's going to go to try to burn down the Harrisons in the shop. And so they all meet up there, and they got these squirt guns, these kid water super soakers, and they're going to use these to administer the magic sunscreen potion. And so they caught the guy inside, and Orson is the one who heads him on, and he's pretty much naked. He's been interrogating Harrison, and he's like, yeah, you think you can take me, Bowers fine? Try me. And at this point it's like, well, we got a pig and we got a phoenix who can light himself. We're gonna have some bacon soon. They lure him outside where they get him to Voga, and then Rosalie says now, because that's when the phosphorus is on his skin. So everybody fires their super soaker, and then you got this green slime being shot at him in 5 different directions, and then he's getting covered by this green slime. It's so epic. And then he can't light himself. He's just, a bowl of molten lava, and then he starts burning up from the inside, and oh my gosh, he explodes. Totally crazy. He was so hot from the inside, and the oxygen couldn't get off of him to release the energy, and so he just exploded. Wu suggested that they put bomb on the report instead of spontaneously combust, which I think is a better idea. And then the night ends with the old world feud coming to at least a standstill, because Monroe says, hey, I'm not going to forgive you for killing my friend Hap. And Orson's like, well, I'm not going to forgive Angelina for killing my brothers. So, deal. We're both not happy with each other. They were able to put aside their feud for the sake of taking down a bigger evil. Now, to get into the biggest old world feud of the ages, the Hexen Beast, because this episode was advertised as a beast fight. Unfortunately, it didn't happen till the last 5 minutes of the episode. So Sean Renard has this croc guy. You probably have seen him. He was trying to track down the Vessenrain, and he sent him off to track down Kelly Burkhart. He is a Skallenzane, which is a crocodile Vessen, seen from season 1. But he's Sean Renard's guy, go-to guy. And unfortunately, we see him betray the captain, and he's actually reporting to Victor. And Victor says, oh, yes, you go track down Kelly Burkhart and report to me. So now we know that this guy is a double-crosser, or maybe he's double-crossing Victor. That was at least a big reveal in this episode. And so Adeline says, ooh, now we know that their car was registered to Juliet, so I can go torment her. And so she goes over there looking for to brag, really. And she winds up facing a powerful Hexen Beast, one that was made, not born, super powerful spoken. And then she starts to throw a vase at her with her Hexen Beast powers, and Juliet's like, oh no, I have Hexen Beast powers too. And she stops the vase in midair, and then proceeds to throw crap at Adeline. I mean, knives are being thrown. They're both whacking each other over the stairs. It's crazy. And they're both really bloody and beaten in all Hexen Beast skeleton grossness. And Adeline Voga's back, and her face is just terrified. I mean, she's like, what the heck just happened? I thought I de-grimmed Nick, not Hexen Beasted Juliet up. What the heck happened? And so the house is pretty much trashed when Nick returns home, and in order to explain herself, because really she can't explain this one away, she decides to tell Nick the truth, because the old order of Grimm killing Hexen Beasts, but hopefully Juliet can change that by saying how much she loves Nick. And he actually does a double take when she Vogas, is so shocked and surprised. He doesn't even know how to process this. This was the last thing that he thought was going on with Juliet. So we'll see if the guy finds Kelly Burkhart, if this new progressive world can really uproot the old one, and how Nick reacts to his girlfriend being a Hexen Beast when Grimm returns.